and start recording. All right. Hey, quickly here. And there's lots more than what I'm going to share with you right now. You can read about this in Quality Whitetails, read about it on our website. But I just want to go through a few of the highlights of things that have happened. So for those of you that are members, you're going to be very proud of all this stuff. If you're not a member, hey, we want you to join. There's nobody that's working harder on behalf of deer hunters than the NDA. So this is a little sample of what's happened in the last 30 days. For those of you who love Quality Whitetails, the fall issue is on the press this week, so it's going to be headed to members' homes very, very soon. If you're not a member and you want to get it, if you join now, you still will get this next issue of the fall issue coming out. So it's a perfect time if you're not a member to be able to join. I mentioned that we have all of our stuff on our YouTube channel. It's crazy how many videos we have there. Deer biology stuff, deer research stuff, habitat management stuff, deer hunting stuff, how to mentor others, and the list goes on and on and on. So go to the YouTube channel. Hit the Deer Association. You can subscribe to it if you want, so you see all that stuff. But we are more and more putting information into the video component as folks so I want to grab it that way. So be sure to check that out and see all the good stuff we have there. We also would like to thank everybody who has already supported our NDA fund. This fund touches all aspects of our mission, and it's a great way to show your support. We have literally received donations from hundreds and hundreds of supporters here within the last month. If you would like to join that list, you can go to deerassociation.com/NDA fund and be able to support the organization to be able to do even more for deer and deer hunters. Matt, you oversee our deer steward stuff, and I know you're slowly transitioning out of that to Ben Westfall, but all of our in-person stuff for 2021 is now come to a close. We had some awesome classes. However, there's still a chance for folks to be able to take Deer Steward. They can do any of the online stuff. Deer Steward 1 is online. We have all the online modules they could do. For those of you that want to get to another in-person thing, we will announce our 2022 in-person schedule at the end of this year. We're actually starting to put in all of that together right now, which classes we're going to do, where we're going to go for them. Registration for that opens in early February, but you'll be able to see here in a few months where we'll be and what classes are out there. Also, very exciting, we just found out last week, as a matter of fact, that we are again going to be hosting the 2022 Southeast Deer Study Group. This is the biggest deer biology meeting in the entire country. Happens even in person each year at one of the 17 states in the southeastern or eastern U.S. We hosted it this year because of COVID concerns. Folks couldn't get together. It was supposed to be in West Virginia. Well, COVID is obviously still around. West Virginia is not able to host it. So we are going to be hosting it again in February of 2022. So super excited about that. So lots more to come in the near future. So stay tuned. And that's open to anybody. Anybody who's interested in deer can check that out. Be sure to check out our NDA Instagram account over the fall. We have something brand new where many staff are going to be doing staff takeovers of that account. Nick Pinizzato did one this past weekend, the first hunt of the year. But we have Hank is going to be doing it next with the Field to Fork hunt. I'm going to be doing it. Matt, I know you're going to be doing it. Other staff is going to be doing it. So something's pretty cool, something that we're adding that we haven't done in the past. We're excited about it, and just another great way to engage with our members. I'm going to do a little teaser. We have a really, really cool one-item auction coming up, and it's a single hunt. This is for this fall, and it's an Alberta hunt with Dale McKinnon. Anybody that knows anything about Alberta or Alberta whitetail, big whitetails, this is an unbelievable hunt, and we were only able to get this because of an NDA member who had this hunt is not able to go. It's actually giving it back to us so that another NDA member can go to this. So folks can get on. We're going to announce this very soon and be able to do this, but this is if you want the ability to travel, and U.S. folks can go to Canada, that's not an issue. This is going to be outstanding. A couple more things from an advocacy end, and then I'll get out of your way, Hank, and let you take over. We joined 10 other organizations in introducing the North American Grasslands Conservation Act last week. Expected to be formally introduced very soon, but this is a huge, huge habitat initiative, going to be great for deer hunters. And lastly, Matt, and I saved the big one here for you, being from the great state of New York, 2 huge advocacy wins in New York. Youths 12 and 13 can now hunt deer with a firearm in nearly every county. If you're not from New York, you're probably looking at this going, Why is that a big deal? You know, kids almost everywhere that are 5 or 6 can hunt deer. Well, not in New York. It is the most restrictive state in the country. And our advocacy team, our members there have worked hard and have finally making some inroads there. So this is a big win in New York. And also, and this was 100% spearheaded by NDA staff and members. Now it's also the legal hunting hours have been extended. And almost every place you can hunt from a half hour before daylight until a half hour after sunset. And that is now going to be the case in New York. So in New York, formerly, you had to wait until sunrise. You had to stop at sunset. And we all know some of the best times of the day. And it's very safe. It's legal everywhere else. Well, it's going to be legal in New York now as well. So a huge shout out to all the NDA members who talk to their legislators and talk to the DEC to help push this. So deer hunters throughout the Empire State are big wins this year. And we had a big part of that. So that's pretty cool, Matt.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I can't help but think about it from a personal side, both of those, how they're going to impact me in a positive way. So I'm super proud of our staff and volunteers and members throughout New York for making that happen. As you can imagine, being a New Yorker, I've been in that situation before where seeing deer and you can see them plain as day, but it's after legal hunting time. It's been like that my whole life. And I started hunting when I was 16. So it's great to see those things get changed. And we worked real hard to make that happen. And we're working in every state like that. So if you're not a New Yorker, just rest assured, our advocacy level with the merger and becoming the actual NDA instead of the QDMA is really just pumping right now. And we're doing a lot of advocacy work, as you can see, at the federal and state level. So I have the pleasure to introduce my colleague to talk tonight. Hank Forrester. Hank's been with us for over 7 years. He's the director of hunting. So he's my direct colleague in the conservation department. We're at the same level, controlling different parts of the conservation department. And he works with a lot of our branches and members on attacking the R3 movement, or the recruit, retain, and reactivate, getting more people afield and getting them hunting. And so we're really looking forward to hearing your talk, Hank. We're going to talk a little bit about some of the events that are happening throughout the country this fall, which I'm going to be part of a few. I know Kip's going to be part of a few, and hearing about what else is going on, but really probably a plea to everybody listening or anybody that watches this once it's recorded about how you can get more involved. So looking forward to hearing your talk, Hank. You can take the floor and please share your screen.
Will do. Thank you, Matt. Hope everybody's doing well tonight. Can you see my screen?
We got it, Hank. Looks good.
Awesome. Well, I was looking through the participants and I started getting the pinwheel of death, as I call it, on my computer. So I quit looking, but I did see Corey was there. And this is Corey Francis at our training day and what we're affectionately calling the Back 40 to Fork, which is a field to fork in Michigan this fall around the Back 40, the property donation we received from Meat Eater. But this is Clement Sagan. I think he's about 50 years old, but first time deer hunter. And we're going to be taking him out hunting actually this weekend on the Back 40, our first hunt. So wanted to give you a little bit more background about who I am and why I'm talking about mentoring and our Field to Fork program tonight. I have been with QDMA a number of years started as the programs manager of Hunting Heritage and now the director of hunting, but I have a lot of experience now running mentor programs for both youth and adult. I've mentored a lot of new hunters over the years and I even trained a bird dog, and I put that photo in here. That's my old dog, Teddy. But I can remember going to a regional conference for QDMA in New York a few years ago, actually soon after I started. And I told people that when I got that dog, I read a book that was What Not to Do to Train Your Bird Dog. And I've toyed with the idea that I think that we're all born hunters, just like that dog was. And, it was the whole premise of the book was what not to do. So only you can screw this up. That dog is born with a natural instinct to be a hunter. And I really thought that was true for everybody. That's at least how I feel. I didn't grow up as a hunter. My parents don't hunt, but I was lucky enough to have neighbors and some, extended family members who I saw hunting and I knew it existed. And eventually got the invite from friends up the street. But I do believe that hunting is still within most of us, but it might be kind of that 80-20 rule in life. And I also like to cook wild game. I saw David Kidd's on here tonight. This was a meal we were cooking during a Field to Fork in 2018 in Athens, Georgia. But that's a lot of my connection with hunting. I can't say it's my full connection with hunting. I do have a history degree, and I love the, the history and kind of the just the hunting that's instilled in all of us. And I think Ranilla said it best that only the last couple hundred years could you have been alive in most parts of this world without being a hunter. So food not only is one of my connections to hunting, but I think it is one of our best connections to mentoring, and it's obviously part of the connection that created Field to Fork. Myself and Charles Evans created Field to Fork in 2016 as we started it, and it was based around food and based around the farmers market. But before we get into that, we need to talk about why we want to do this, why we care about this, and the current state of hunting in this country. And we're kind of overdue for our next national survey of hunting, fishing, and wildlife associated recreation. But the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service in 2016 released their study. It's supposed to be released every 5 years. And that study said that there were 11.5 million licensed hunters in the United States in any given year. That's less than 5% of the U.S. population 18 or older. Of that 11.5 million, 90% were male and 97% are Caucasian. I believe there's 130 million Americans in this country today. We have to understand the negative consequences that are arising and will arise as we become a minority of the population, a vast minority. And we also need to understand that nothing is sustainable that is held in one demographic. So, to make the future of hunting more bright, we need to obviously advocate for hunting and get more people to understand the value of hunting, but we need to diversify and grow hunting and create its relevancy in other cultures and especially in urban areas. Fast forwarding, to last year, we started reading a lot of headlines that, COVID was getting a lot more people afield. Our actually board member, Natalie Krebs of NDA's national board, wrote this article for Outdoor Life, and I'm even quoted in there. And we were seeing increases in hunting and license sales. We don't have extrinsic evidence to say it was COVID related. Now in hindsight, as we can better look at the data, we understand that we were actually seeing an increase in hunting participation before COVID, and we actually probably lost hunting participation due to COVID. We did see some areas that had large spikes, and that did translate to an overall national increase of hunting in the 1% range. But all in all, it was really because of some law changes as well as just season times during COVID. Like Georgia saw a large increase of participation of hunting on their public lands during turkey season during COVID, but that was right in the midst of our lockdown. New York saw a large increase in hunting participation because they, for the first time, allowed online hunter education. And so their certifications and license went very high compared to last. But all in all, we've seen hunting participation decrease over the years. I do believe we are going to see a growth in hunting, and it's really positive. But I think if anybody has seen some of the most recent kind of controversy around R3 and hunting participation in this country, that Stephen Ranilla's brother wrote an op-ed about how he didn't like the R3 movement. We didn't need more people afield, and he did blame people like me and people who do things like we promote. But at the end of the day, I think he's wrong on why we're seeing a hunting participation increase. I would argue that this is exactly why we're seeing the hunting participation increase. And yes, Meat Eater is giving the image of hunting in a very positive light. Hunting has become cool. There's been an increase in kind of, I call them adventure sports. Of course, with COVID, there was an increase in people's desires to get outside and allowing time to do so. But really, I think we've been seeing this this culture in America, food focus. And that's exactly why we started Field to Fork. I mean, farmers markets are plenty and popular. Organic foods, that kind of stuff, have just all come around. Michael Pollan, I guess, started it off with some of his books in the mid 2000s. But we've seen this revolution in hunting and kind of how we relate hunting. I think food's always been a part of it, but it's definitely come more front and center. But I don't want to say that Stephen Rennell and Meteor alone are what's increasing this hunting. It's actually the red emblem in the top of the screen. I believe the Netflix effect is what's increasing participation in hunting. And I really don't have any proof to do that. But if you think about it, not until Netflix arose did everyone in America have access to a quality hunting television show that presented hunting for more, or we'll just say in this light. But nowadays, any American can get on Netflix and see that Meat Eater is trending on Netflix. And just that image and opportunity to see hunting is bringing a lot of people who have that interest. It's getting them to come out. And we've seen that. We've seen that in our events. Matt and I were on the Meat Eater podcast. The amount of emails I received from that podcast alone just shows the amount of new hunters or aspiring hunters are consuming their content based on finding it from Netflix. The common talk is, I found Meteor on Netflix, I started listening to their podcast or so on, and now I want to start to hunt. And we get those kind of emails all the time. And we do have some research that can back up kind of the opportunity at hand. Southwick Associates, along with DJ Case, put out a study last year calling Making Mentorship Work. And it was a survey across the United States that identified that there are 24.7 million Americans who are interested in learning to hunt. Again, 11.5 million Americans buy a hunting license every year, or on average. The good news in that 11.5 that I didn't get to earlier, 8 million of them are deer hunters. So 8 million of the 11 million in 2006 were deer hunters. But through this study, they identified that there were 24.7 million Americans who were interested in learning to hunt, who said that they plan to hunt one day and were currently doing it. So there's your audience. We could double, triple the amount of hunting or hunters in this country overnight, and it really just takes an invite. So while we go through the rest of this talk, we'll speak a lot to Field to Fork and obviously organized mentorship, but I want you to consider individual mentorship as well. I know, creating an organized program isn't for everyone. Just like a newcomer getting into hunting, it's a daunting task, but really I'm here to show you tonight that hosting a Field to Fork is actually, I don't want to say it's easy, but it's anyone can do it. And we continue to create resources to make it easier and easier for people to do that. But first, let's talk about how we recruit hunters. Back in the early 2000s, when R3 kind of came about, some people sat down and they decided, how is a hunter created? What creates a hunter? And this is what they came up with. They actually adopted this from a marketing plan. It's part of the marketing and how you get somebody to buy something, but they amended it for how we recruit people into hunting and fishing. That's why there's watermarks on the screen. But this one I took off RBFF's website, and they put a few water droplets on it. But it's an outdoor recreation adoption model. So what we're doing here, if you start from left, reading left to right, we're trying to recruit hunters by a recruitment phase where we're raising awareness, we're raising interest, and we're offering a trial phase. That would be Field to Fork in a sense. We're out there to recruit a new hunter, or if you're doing it around your dinner table, you share a meal of venison, you speak of hunting to a non-hunter, they show their interest, and you offer to take them hunting. Hopefully they'll have a nice trial experience or time afield with you. But at some point that new hunter has to decide whether they're going to continue hunting. And then retention would come down to whether they they are continuing, whether they continue with support or whether they continue without support. And reactivation is actually a lapsed hunter, so bringing back in. So R3, the modern term of kind of what I run as a department, is recruit, retain, and reactivate hunting. So, so the big deal here up above it, social support. I can tell you that what creates hunters is community and camaraderie and building confidence. The social support is that community. Think about the people who took you afield when you just started to hunt. If it was your dad or your uncle or just a mentor or a friend. I mean, you might not have started until you were an adult. But just think about that kind of social support that was given, and even the opportunity to ask questions and that helping hand. That is what got you to that point to where you were going to decide whether you're going to be a hunter or not. And you obviously, probably, if you're on this call, have decided to be a hunter. But social support continues them down their path over years, and we see this throughout all these, programs we do. And I'll get to some examples in a minute. But really, at the end of the day, what we're trying to do, and the goal of mentoring and especially our Field to Fork programs, we're to create hunters. And what makes a hunter is that they self-identify as a hunter. That's the bottom left green or bottom right green. What does it take to self-identify as a hunter? In my argument, it's confidence. And so that's all we're doing as mentors and running Field to Fork programs, is we're trying to build the confidence of these people who are interested in hunting, that have shown the interest, and we're offering that trial phase. We're trying to give them the community, the social support, the camaraderie that we know as deer camps or whatever. And we're ultimately trying to build their confidence to where they self-identify as a hunter. And you can read my quote in an article, I hope that didn't flip my screen, in Outdoor Life. Last week, Jack Hennessy read an article about whether this field to table hunting was going to be sustainable. And he kind of got me into it. But, in my opinion, it's about giving a new hunter the confidence. They have to say to themselves, this is something I can do and I'm going to do it. And that's all it takes. That is when that switch flips. They're a hunter and we've done our job. And everybody's an individual, and it takes different time. So what are we doing about it? NDA still runs our Share Your Hunt program. I wanted to throw that in here. We still offer, our branch incentive program to try to get branches to host hunts. We offer insurance, background checks, membership, a branded hat and vest, and free access to our educational resources. And we do that for both youth and adult hunts. This is a picture from probably the last national youth hunt we ran as a national organization. And believe me, guys, we have hosted a lot of youth hunts, and we still continue as an organization. We run a lot of youth hunts, and there's nothing wrong with that. But when we decided that we wanted to focus on modern R3, we wanted to be sustainable in what we were doing. We wanted to be efficient in our targets, and we wanted to try to create programs that created hunters. And a lot of youth programs have traditionally been about heartstrings. We've traditionally recruited youth from hunting cultures, often inside hunting families, and we've taken them hunting. I'm not here to belabor the point, but adults are a much more efficient audience, and that's why we chose to focus on them. They have calendars, they have checkbooks, they have cars, they decide what they're going to do on a daily basis on their own. And at the end of the day, I can take an adult hunting today, and they can take their kid or another adult tomorrow. They can advocate to their peer group about hunting, and they can really pass it forward. And that's what we've really seen as we've done and continued to do more adult hunts. So as I said, Field to Fork, as we know it, started in 2016 in Athens, Georgia. Myself and Charles Evans, the Georgia R3 coordinator, started it. And this was our first class. The ones in camo are the mentors, and the ones not in camo are the hunters. There's one new hunter in camo, and he's in the middle of the Share Your Hunt sign. But we set out with the Georgia R3 initiative to create a program that would sustainably recruit food-focused adult hunters. And we had this harebrained idea that we were going to set up a table at the farmer's market with venison samples and see what happened. And that's what happened in 3 hours. Those participants were signed up and we had a waiting list. Again, these photos are actually from the 2018 video, and I did see David Kidd was on here a minute ago, but I invite you to go to deerassociation.com/FTF and watch our video from 2018. The next few photos are from that program. But we set up a table at the farmers market. I'm drinking Modelo tonight. It's my gas station beer of choice, and I actually forgot to bring a beverage to the office. But we had a Saturday and Wednesday farmers market. This is a photo from the Wednesday farmers market at Creature Comforts Brewery. They were a gracious host of the farmers market. We actually did a lot better recruiting new hunters on Saturdays. We filled up that first one on Saturdays, but we always got a lot more volunteers to come down to Creature Comforts to help on Wednesday evenings instead of Saturday morning. In the original pilot, we hosted 2 afternoon or evening classes after work from 6 to 9 p.m. Half that time was spent shooting crossbows. The other half of that was in the classroom eating venison meals, and we even served adult beverages when we were done shooting. We wanted to build that community and just make everybody comfortable. After our 2 evening sessions, we met on a Saturday. We let everybody shoot again, meet their mentors, and we do a Saturday evening, Sunday morning deer hunt. Again, the mentor right here is in camouflage, Krisha, and the new hunter Gary's on the left. But we always started with an afternoon hunt, a little easier to get a field, paired them with local hunters. In the Athens program, we recruited a lot of local Athens branch volunteers. We piggybacked off their access. We asked them to take their hunter out during that organized hunt and really to stick with their hunter and try to encourage them to continue. And when it was all said and done, we hosted a culinary social. We included some education on how to process deer, even sausage making, that kind of stuff. But you can see right here, 30 people, I guess, in the program, maybe a little more with staff and those that were mentors and hunters. But, it really was, it was about having fun. Everybody enjoyed themselves, but we were very successful in creating new hunters in the program, and just a few of them. Frank Kennedy here, he owned guns. Somebody pointed him to us because he asked a question in a Facebook group, but he's a welder, but didn't have anybody to show him the ropes. Grew up in Florida, and he continues to hunt till this day. Kind of a friend of ours and a friend of the program. But I can only imagine hunting would be like welding. I'm not going to pick up a welding torch and say I can weld. And deer hunting was the exact same thing for him. Edwin, you'll see him in the video. He actually came through the program in 2017. He's mentoring for us here in 2018. So there's my proof. Edwin was a first-time hunter in 2017. At the end of the season, he wrote Charles and I an email, and he said, I harvested 5 deer and I took 5 newcomers hunting. Is that good? And I told Evan, I've never harvested 5 deer in one season. So that is good. And continuing on to year 2, he harvested 5 more deer and took probably more than 5 people hunting. And he continues to do so. So people that we take out can mentor immediately. And he did so that first year. And then Jen is one of our other participants from 2017. I would classify Jen as a homesteader. She was a doctoral candidate at the University of Georgia, but very into, farming, gardening, that kind of stuff. One of my favorite stories about Jen is she started harvesting roadkill. And one of her most embarrassing stories was when someone called the cops on her while she was, elbow deep in a roadkill deer. But all these people, very different walks of life, all came to us as completely new first-time hunters. All of them hunt today, and we all had a ton of fun sharing our passion for deer hunting. And that's really what, as a mentor, you need to understand. These new hunters may look different than you. They may think different than you, but your knowledge is important to them, and they will be inspired by your passion for deer hunting. And just like all of us know who have ever mentored anybody, the just experiencing a hunt with a new hunter, kind of is infectious to us as well. So we learned quickly that we could create this great community around a shared passion for deer hunting and wild foods and helping others. And it still continues today. This is Sarah Thurman. She was the manager of our Athens Farmers Market. And after a couple years, we talked her into signing up, or she wanted to the whole time, but the way we did the trainings didn't allow, because we were doing a training on a Wednesday night during the farmers market. So we actually changed our training schedule around, and so she could participate in the program. When we set out to replicate the program, and us immediately as well, top left is in Pennsylvania. We still run a handful of field to forks in the state of Pennsylvania this year, and I'll talk about some of those later. But I onboarded new hunters for a field to fork in Pennsylvania with Derek Stoner on the left this afternoon. And the bottom right, that is the Rochester branch, and that the Cornell Cooperative Extension. They continue. I think they are our original replication with Bob Rose up there, and they continue to run a program. And we actually had a meeting about that just recently, and actually an interview with the news. But every replication is different, and I'm going to go through a number of them now and show you how they're different. But I hope you're inspired by this, and let you know that you can make this happen anywhere. When we first posted about going to the farmers market in Athens, this young lady, Emily Monroe, reached out on QDMA at the time's Facebook, and she said, "Is there anything like this where I live?" And the guys, Lindsay pointed it out to me, and so I clicked on her profile on Facebook, and I realized that she lived in New Hampshire, and she was an engineer at Ruger Firearms, American firearms manufacturer. As I got to know Emily a little better, she actually shot on the small bore team at MIT. I've misspoken that she was had a scholarship, but that's not true. But she grew up in Northern Virginia shooting at the NRA ranges, and was on the small bore team at MIT, worked at a gun company, and was still trying to figure out how to find somebody to teach her to hunt. And that just shows you what a poor job we're doing as hunters in bringing in the next generation of hunters. Because of that conversation, the next year, this program happened. This is 25 employees of Ruger and Sig Sauer firearms. I think the Ruger guys are on the right and the Sig guys are on the left. We hosted a field to fork program with the first New Hampshire branch in New Hampshire with the New Hampshire Game and Fish. This is one of their hunter education facilities. We did have to host an in-person hunter education course for the class, but it just shows you how many Americans want to learn to hunt and how they are not finding their way. And we talk about this a lot. Hunting can be perceived as daunting, but really our mantra at NDA has become that hunting may be perceived as daunting, but it is easily and attainable. Becoming confident in your abilities and becoming a hunter, self-identifying as one, is easy, and everyone it has the ability to do it. And I butchered the way we write it, but you'll find it a few places on our website. I think Matt helped me with that one, but it's so true that people are daunted by the idea of becoming a hunter. But we all know there's 11.5 million Americans that do it, and anybody else who wants to can too. We've continued the industry field to forks, as we call them, and we hosted one last year in Georgia for Daniel Defense with NSSF. And this year, actually, weekend after next, we'll be hosting one for Vortex Optics employees. So there are, and actually one more, we are doing one for American Outdoor Brands in Missouri this fall. So we are doing a couple industry field to forks this year, and we have time and time again realized that there are a lot of Americans who want to learn to hunt, even within our gun companies. We've also hosted what I call destination programs. So let me take a step back there. What I spoke of as the Athens program, that elongated program where we did multiple nights and we did a hunt, and we tried to do lots of follow-up opportunities through the local volunteers and local mentors. That's what I call a community-based program, where we're all staying local, keeping it local. And really, I think that is what we should shoot for. That's not always the opportunity at hand. And as I've said, all these replications are always different because the opportunity is always different. But we've also done destination programs, and this is probably the easiest lift. So if you're a NDA member and you have a hunt club, you got 5 guys who like to deer hunt, and you say, hey, maybe we should do something. Maybe we should make have a little fun with it. Maybe we make it a competition. So let's recruit 5 new hunters and let's take them hunting one weekend at deer camp. And let's have some fun with it. Let's make it some camaraderie. Well, that's practically what we're doing here. This is the same property that National Youth Hunt photo was taken on. We flipped that hunt. We recruited adults from all over the state of Georgia. We hosted one 4-day program, everything consolidated into 4 days. There was no opportunity for follow-up unless they drove to Athens and bow hunted with me. And some of them did that. But we were hunting this great property. We had the opportunity to harvest a number of deer. Most of them did harvest their first deer. And 100% of these participants hunt today. And this hunt was in 2019, fall of 2019. We've seen that time and time again with these destination ones. We've gone to Texas and done the same thing. And, I'm not going to give you enough time to read all that, but we had other opportunities like that on large ranches where we brought in people from all over the state of Texas. A couple of the quick quotes. This was actually, we partnered with BHA on this, and the comment came out of the Texas BHA group. As you can see, one of the board members for BHA was asking how the guys liked the event. He stopped by for a few hours, but the first comment, this was the best experience I've ever encountered. I feel confident in calling myself a hunter. Adam Warner, the second comment, I echo everything he said. Once in a lifetime opportunity. So, we do have the opportunity. We can build these amazing programs, and we did have really awesome opportunities here, but it doesn't take that. I would say this amazing experience came more so from the opportunity to learn and the community around that camp than the actual property and that kind of stuff. So we 100% of these Texas hunters continue to hunt, and we track them a few different ways. I keep up with them. So Adam Warner was that second comment, and I don't have a photo of Adam at our event. Adam's an artist. He did not want his photos taken. I asked him if I could take his photo with his first harvest, and he declined. But since then, he's taught his son to hunt. He's obviously bought a few more camo items than we gave him. And he and his son go hunting every year. They process their own meat. So there you go again. We taught a father to hunt, and now he taught his son to hunt, and they continue that tradition and even take photos nowadays. But I do not have a photo of Adam with his first harvest because he did not want his photo taken. Soon after that event, we got some national recognition, and we've always gotten a lot of press with Field to Fork, even when we started locally in Athens and so on. But it was a very great article, 100 times the typical views of an A-head column for the Wall Street Journal. We made the cover of the print edition about taking newcomers deer hunting, and the story was trending on Apple News 3 days later. We've also done, a lot of partner Field to Forks, and we continue to do so. And if you're going to replicate a Field to Fork around where you are, I recommend partnerships. When we started Field to Fork in Athens, it was a cooperative program between QDMA, NWTF, the Georgia Wildlife Federation, the Georgia Department of Natural Resources. So we started Field to Fork as a cooperative effort, and it's the best way you can do it. But we also have started doing hunts on National Wildlife Refuges. The first one we did was on the John Hines National Wildlife Refuge in downtown Philadelphia, or just south of Philadelphia. It's considered America's first urban wildlife refuge. We did another one, and we'll do it again this year in Virginia. on the Occoquan Bay National Wildlife Refuge. We do one in New Jersey, and one other, but we have 4 national wildlife refuges that are now running field to forks, alongside, obviously the federal government, and we hope to expand that. But there's so many opportunities. We're also doing a field to fork on state properties, and we do a number of those. But there's a new one that I'm kind of helping with in Indiana on a state property. And of course, we've got some more high profile ones. So we just hosted that training day. That first picture, we did receive that property donation from Meat Eater, and Mark Kenyon was on site to give our new hunters a tour of the property of the back 40 just a few weeks ago. They'll be out there hunting this weekend. We've kind of adapted this one. It's kind of a community / destination model. We're hunting multiple weekends of the year, and we brought them in for a 1-day training. But it's kind of a hybrid approach for people all around Michigan. Lastly, one last example I'll give you, and we just announced this one a while back, and we've been working on it quite a while. We were approached by the Nature Conservancy and then bringing along a new group called Hunters of Color. As I spoke of earlier, we are concerned about the diversity makeup of hunters, and we're working to diversify current hunters. And so last year, a new group came online called Hunters of Color. And the Nature Conservancy approached us with them. The Nature Conservancy actually has a lot of land throughout the United States that they do open up a fair amount of currently for hunting, and want to do more to help out equitable access as well as get new hunters afield. Most of theirs were kind of traditionally leased as hunting camps, but we will be taking new hunters in New York this fall. All hunters will be BIPOC, as they call it, Black, Indigenous, of people of color. But our partners in that are also backcountry hunters and anglers and the New York Department of Environmental Conservation. So we're pretty excited about that one. We'll also be filming that. We received a grant from the National Shooting Sports Foundation to film the program. And lastly, I kind of wanted to go through some of the resources that we've created, both for field to forks and individual hunters. And the point here is we have kind of a step-by-step guide on how to run a field to fork, and we have adopted an online learning system, and I'll get to that in a minute. But we really have taken hunting, especially with COVID last year and social distancing, when we had to adapt our programs. We utilized some of our online educational resources as the education for field to forks, and we proved it is the way to do so. So right here, we partnered with ATA and we created a mentor guide, which will give you, it was kind of an update of a guide that I believe Kip and Matt made many moons ago at QDMA. We updated it with ATA, and we created a field to fork how-to. We also have a ton of resources that we make available for these new hunters as part of our field to fork programs, but they're also great for individuals. This first started with an ebook, NDA's Guide to Successful Deer Hunting, and it's our oldest resource, but most of them are kind of based off the same premise or kind of the same model, and I'll get to that in a minute. Another great resource we have is our Deer Hunting 101 tab on our website, deerassociation.com. It's under the Hunt tab, Deer Hunting 101. And the great thing about this resource is every resource that I'm telling you about right now is pinned at the top of that online page. So if you're looking for all these electronically as a link, just go to this page, deerassociation.com/101, or under the Hunt tab, Deer Hunting 101. We also have our Deer Hunting 101 YouTube series. It's based off the ebook, and it's a great resource for aspiring hunters. We're actually going to try to update this very soon, but it's still a great resource. We just started releasing earlier this summer our How to Deer Hunt podcast. So kind of taking that ebook outline, amending it a little bit, and making it a podcast format where people can listen to at work or in their car. There's 13 episodes available for that. And kind of the one I'm most proud of, and we offer this course for free for all field to fork hunters, but we also sell it with our partner Calcamy and Today's Hunter, is our Deer Hunting 101 online course. Last year alone, we sold 41,000 units of this course to aspiring hunters around the country. And it's what we're using to educate our new hunters for Field to Forks today. And we're offering free access to that and free access to online hunter education through Calcami as well. So today I onboarded hunters for a Field to Fork for Northwestern Pennsylvania. Obviously, we had used pre-selection surveys to identify who were good candidates, but we sent them their educational resources today, including free access to this, free access to online hunter education. We'll host a Zoom for them before they travel to the event to answer any questions, meet everybody, kind of create that community and camaraderie, make everybody more comfortable. But we're really giving them all the resources to where if you have a hunting camp, if you have a property that you could replicate a Field to Fork at, we can give them most of the knowledge and resources they need so they're ready to show up. And all you have to do is welcome them, take them afield, and have a lot of fun with it. And that's really the end all be all, is that it's a ton of fun. As much as these new hunters can be unlike us, they can be exactly like us. As we can see, they're in our gun companies. They're all around us, and we run into them all the time. On that Field to Fork that I'm talking about today, the one in Northwest Pennsylvania that we onboarded the hunters today, one of the guys wrote a blog for us in last week's newsletter about practicing tree stand safety before getting a field. And he's actually a communications manager for W.L. Gore, who owns Sika Gear. So again, there are so many new hunters, great people, your next hunt buddy or friend just waiting to be recruited. And we hope you'll either do that individually or by hosting a Field to Fork. And if there's anything we can do to help, questions, concerns, that kind of stuff, there's my contact.
Great job, Hank. Great job. The venison looks good for sure. So if we can get you to stop sharing your screen there, we have some questions here that Matt and I'll ask you and let you answer for the group.
All right.
So very well done. So Matt, I see you answered a question already relative to COVID. So I'll take the first one here and then kick it back over to you. So Hank, this is from Jennifer. She asked, how does she go about recommending or requesting or getting help to set up or volunteer a table at her local farmer's market? So you have lots of experience with farmers markets, so she's looking for ways that she can get involved with her local one. So what advice do you have for her?
Sure. Well, each one is different. Matt has run a Field to Fork in New York the last couple of years, and they are not allowed, or excuse me, you are allowed to bring meat samples. The Rochester farmers market cannot bring food samples, but we haven't run into a farmers market yet that wouldn't allow us to come in. We just reached out to the manager. Funny story, we thought it was Jan, but it was actually Jan. Nothing in the email denoted, so we thought we were looking for a Jan, but we just wrote them an email. Actually, I had reached out to them a year before asking about, I'd sat there and watched them make ricotta cheese at a chef demonstration. And I was thinking, man, why don't we bring a deer into the farmer's market and show people how to break it down? And that's how I started talking to them. They were happy to do that, and we did not do it. But I think Field to Fork was a better move.
Yeah, at our local farmers market, we can. Last year with COVID, we weren't allowed to. Certainly made it a little bit more difficult to recruit people. When you put up those venison sausage pictures a little bit earlier, I started drooling. As we all know, it definitely pulls a certain string with folks. I got a question right here for you, Hank, in the Q&A feature from Aaron. My husband and I are interested in learning to hunt through Field to Fork. How can we sign up or find more information for hunts in our area? And she's in Columbus, Georgia. She says, thanks.
Oh, sweet. Perfect. Reach out to me. My email's right there. We also, not on this presentation, we have two kind of national signups. We have a new hunter. So that's deerassociation.com/new hunter. If you're a new hunter, go there and register. So when we've had Field to Fork events in different states this year, I've gone to those lists. I've invited everybody from that state to apply. And then also for you mentors out there, we have deerassociation.com/mentor. And if you're willing to mentor a new hunter, we ask that you'd go sign up there. one thing I'll say, jumping back to the farmers market, there is nothing I enjoyed more about any field to fork than standing at the booth at the farmers market.
Very good. Thanks, Hank. Back to you, Kip.
All right, Hank, we got next. You talked to them about or encouraged them to partner with somebody. So James asked, hey, what are some good partners or clubs to link up with to help host Field to Forks?
The first one is always your state agency. That's a number of reasons. They usually have resources. They can even provide insurance, but also they usually have staff. They're involved in this. And also really when we can, we actually track our new hunters through the license system of the state. So it's somebody that we have relationships in many states and we can connect you. But number one, always, look for your state agency. We've partnered with other NGOs like NWTF and BHA, other groups like Nature Conservancy. I would say really look at what you're missing and where you need opportunity. I mean, sometimes we partner with people for land access. Sometimes we partner because we need mentors or new hunters or whatever. But we haven't found an opportunity where there weren't great partners around.
All right, thanks, Kip. I get one last question. It's actually in the chat section from Tim. Hank, there's a question about, have we considered doing a guide for hunting focused on municipalities and suburban areas that allow hunting that have overpopulations of deer? So talk a little bit about efforts in suburban and urban areas and whether or not we've tried to educate folks in those areas.
So we don't have a real organized program or guide to urban deer hunting, if I take it that way. I will say many of Field to Forks have taken advantage of urban deer hunting. I'm a huge fan of urban deer hunting. A big risk of creating any mentor hunting program or lift, one of these destination models, if you will, is housing and lodging and all that comes along with that. Hunting urban areas like we did around Athens, we were killing deer inside our small beltway. We were getting access to small urban properties through tax ID maps originally and then AllNext. But we were able to, pick people up from their front door and take them over here, and they could go back home at night and they could be there the next morning. It also seemed like we had good deer populations, and often those areas might have been overlooked by your current hunting population. I know, especially in Georgia, urban hunting is getting super popular with those Seek-One guys and everything. And they actually filmed that 2018 video. If you go and watch that 28 Field to Fork video, one of those guys filmed that video for us, or one of them. But no, we don't really have a guide on that, but we are huge advocates for urban hunting and want to advocate for that anywhere we can.
Thanks, Hank. That's we made it through the questions, and we got 2 minutes left. So let's give away a prize. Does that sound good? Before we do that, another plug for asking anybody that's on here that's not a member to become a member of the National Deer Association. I've been a member a lot longer than I've been an employee. I joined and became a member when I was in college and started a local branch, and am still a member, still volunteer, even though I'm a salaried employee. And I know there's one great way to do it. You can also get a good hat, as we mentioned before. I'll put in the chat feature at the very end the link to the First Light membership offer, where you can become a member and get this hat right here. What's up next month, Kip?
This could be another good one. Hank was awesome tonight, and we're going to follow it up with one that focuses a little more on research. October 11th, Dr. Dwayne Diefenbach from Penn State University is going to be our host, or our presenter, and the title is How Wise is Conventional Wisdom? How Deer Move During the Rut and Hunting Seasons in the Big Woods. So we hear it all the time. Yeah, if I lived in the Midwest, it's easier to figure out where deer move. But I live in the Northeast, or I live in the Southeast. It's all big woods. It's heavily forested. Well, hey, we both live in some big woods as well, and so Dwayne is going to be perfect to address. Penn State has done as much deer movement work as anybody in the country in the last decade. So Dwayne's going to share a lot of that research with us. I know he has some cool maps he'll use. We talked earlier today about incorporating some videos movement videos into the presentation. So it's going to be a good one. So October 11th, folks are going to want to come back.
They do some great stuff out of Penn State, and the research that comes out every time they do one of those studies. I'm always interested in that. All right, let's give a prize. So what I want everybody to do is focus on the chat feature, not the Q&A. So make sure you're looking at the chat feature to type in this answer. First person that types this in correctly will get it. And so I'm going to ask a question based on something that you heard that Hank said. And the prize is going to be, just so you're wondering what you're competing for, is we're giving away a free subscription to that Deer Hunting 101 today's hunter course that Hank mentioned at the end of his presentation. So if you're already a hunter and you don't want to take it, you can gift it to somebody. If you are a hunter, you can still take it. There's some great deer biology information about how deer move, how they see. You can still learn something from it. And if you're a new hunter, it's certainly right up your alley too, which I know we have some new hunters on. So we're going to ask a question. You're going to type it in there. First one right. I'll just scroll up and see who gets it correctly. The person will get it. And then you're going to email me at matt@deerassociation.com at the very end, and we'll get you hooked up with that prize. And once I say your name. So here's the question. Hank talked about a bunch of numbers. Sometimes I try to focus on numbers that are mentioned. I'm going to do that this time. So he mentioned a study by Southwick and Associates that ranked and thought about how many people out there want to learn to hunt. It was a number. How many millions of people in that study are saying that they are interested in learning to hunt? It was a pretty big number. So go ahead and type that in. Let's see. I'm seeing the first one. It was a 24.7 million was the right answer, and Vince put in 25 million. I think we'll take that. Vince Gadweski, if I'm saying that right. So Vince, you can email me at
I don't
Matt.
think so.
No, you don't think I said that right? I probably didn't.
Oh, I
Hey, I took a shot.
I'm guessing you didn't say that right. That does not look how it was right, but congratulations, Vince.
He pronounced it. Congratulations, Vince. So hey, at least I took a shot at it. So Vince, email me at matt@deerassociation.com, and we'll get you hooked up. I see 11.5 million. A lot of people wrote. That's how many active deer hunters there are now. So there's 24.7 million people out there that don't hunt that want to learn how. So there you go, Kip. Anything else before we wrap it up?
Good opportunity for us. So great job, Hank. Throw to us for everybody there watching. Hank is actually the NDA staff member that shot the first deer this year. So congratulations. Hank's a bit of a traveler, and he literally helps people around the world. And that's not an exaggeration. And he got a unique opportunity earlier this year to go access deer hunting. So congratulations, Hank, on that. And I know you're chasing whitetails now, and you're mentoring people even as of opening day this past weekend. So you talk the talk, but you absolutely walk the walk. So thank you for what you do for hunting. Thank you for what you do for us, and a great job tonight. So be safe, everybody. Good luck hunting, and we will see you on October 11th.
Thanks for joining us, everyone.
Have a good night. Cheers. Pew.